We're there for you, first thing in the morning, and when you get home at night. We're there for you in the heart of your evening. Today, Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Dateline. NBC News, America's news leader.
We're exploring cyberspace these days, and MK Flynn is here, and tell us what you're going to talk about today, MK.
Hi, Jody. Well, today we're looking at culture, and in particular, the culture clash of big business and the webheads that started the internet. And there's a very entrepreneurial, almost a cottage industry or hobbyist feel to the internet, and a lot of people love that. And there's a very freewheeling nature and a very broad spectrum of ideas expressed. And many people are concerned that as corporations put more money into websites and get on the web more and more, that the whole community and the whole feel of the net may get blanderized. That's a term Omar Wasso, our contributor, has coined. He's worried about blanderization. He'll be on in just a couple moments.
You know, the web has given rise to interesting terms like spamming and so forth. And in fact, I saw a word that I thought, I no longer take anything at face value. I saw that you were going to do something on fly fishing on the web. And I thought this must be like cyber lingo for casting out a search for some kind of random information.
A very creative interpretation.
And lo and behold, it's actually about fly fishing, standing in a river, catching trout.
Exactly. And it was created by David Sherbuck, who's also the editor of Forbes Online. But this is an entrepreneurial effort that he's been doing on the web. And that fly fishing site we'll take a look at in a few moments. It's been getting a lot of attention.
You're also going to talk about the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue on the web?
That's right. We're going to be talking to the head of agency.com, Kyle Shannon, and they create many corporate websites, including the one for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition.
All right. So how about that Tyra Banks? All right. Thank you, MK Flynn. We look forward to that. That's all coming up right after this here on MSNBC. Stay tuned.
And I booked a lot of my reservations on the net just by, I was able to plan a lot of my trip using the internet.
Welcome back to our Tangled Web series. Today we're focusing on culture and the culture clash between big business and the original webheads who helped grow the net from scratch. MSNBC contributor Omar Wasso is following cyber culture for us and joins me now with a report. Omar, what happens when big business meets the entrepreneurial web?
Well, what we've seen in the last 2 years is a real transformation of the web. Originally, the net wasn't real enthusiastic about business, and lately they've really embraced each other. I went out and actually interviewed some of the people who are kind of making Silicon Alley happen, and that's what's coming up in this package.
Great.
Internet culture is giving birth to a new industry.
I've been working here for about a year and a half, and which pretty much makes me about as experienced as anyone doing anything on the web.
We're ancient in the web world. We launched in May of 1995.
Oh, I mean, it's got to be 8 or 9 months now at this point. But I figure that's a third the life of the internet as it stands now.
In net years, I've been online since the Jurassic era. It was with this computer that I first went online.
When I was a kid, I loved playing with computers, and now, like a generation of nerds, I've turned that hobby into a business.
For the employees of New York Silicon Alley, it's more than just a job. It's an around-the-clock community.
What are the parameters of Silicon Alley?
Silicon Alley? I would say it's a state of mind more than it is geographic boundaries. But we will say it's 28th Street, 28th Street to Spring, maybe along Broadway. That's Silicon Alley proper, so to speak.
There's no
it's
such
extended.
thing.
It's extended,
Silicon
but
Alley is marketing hype. They share a common zeal, a sense of going where no one has gone before.
We made the internet. We're making the rules.
We've been there at the very beginning of a medium, and our work has shaped, the direction that medium has evolved.
And as the culture of the net grows up, big business is moving in. A subsidiary of America Online recently acquired startup WP Studios. Gargantuan website Hotwired took over the counterculture cool of suck.com. This rash of acquisitions has sparked a fear that the age of successful do-it-yourself websites has passed.
you'll see smaller entities being absorbed, and sometimes they may lose their personality.
Microsoft N3P project, no shock to anybody. People are a little upset about them coming into the alley, demanding all exclusive rights to artists' work.
Despite a disdain for money grubbing in cyberspace, increasingly, commerce is at the heart of net culture and innovation.
TurboTax, one of our accounts.
The question for us is, can we do this, continue to grow, become a profitable, self-sustaining company, and remain as independent as we have?
Yeah, I do believe something is lost in that change. That is the sort of anarchistic freedom that we used to have to be able to do whatever we wanted at any time that we wanted. We actually have to do this for a living now.
There's a common feeling from the indie startups like Feed Magazine to the affluent likes of Agency.com, a sense that the pluralistic nature of the web must be preserved.
Do you think there's still room in the world, the wild and woolly world of the internet, for one person to do a site that has an impact?
If there isn't, I'm leaving.
The net was designed to resist nuclear assault. And now the question is whether internet culture can withstand a threat even more grave. Going mainstream.
And speaking of big business, that was the MSNBC website.
Our very own. All right. Can the web hobbyists who have been on the internet from its infancy survive the influx of big business? We're going to get some answers now from our guest today. We're joined in the studio by David Sherbuck, the editor of the Forbes magazine website. David also has his own innovative fly fishing website. And Kyle Shannon, president of Agency.com, which develops corporate websites like the Sports Illustrated site for the annual swimsuit issue. Why are companies and traditional publishers so interested in the internet? David, we'll start with you.
The internet has the buzz, it has the potential, it has an immense amount of excitement that everyone wants to jump upon, but it's also a medium which has potential beyond any other medium. It's all mediums rolled into one.
Kyle, you work with companies to develop corporate websites. Why are they so interested in the internet?
Well, I think they recognize the potential. I think the internet is one of the first media that allows an individual to reach back in. The media that have preceded it have been about a very small group pushing information out to a very large group, and this medium actually offers the opportunity of true communication.
But Kyle, what are most companies hoping to achieve with their websites?
And make big money.
How? Nobody's making any money off the web, Omar.
Well, you've been approached, David, by a number of large companies. What's gone into your decision about whether to stay independent or partner?
Yes, we have been approached by a number of traditional magazine publishers to pick up our fly fishing website. We're holding them at arm's length because we really see the potential to take it further than what they're offering at this point. We're more than astonished by the profitability of our site and the reaction it has with its users.
Now, Kyle, you did choose to partner with a larger traditional media company. Why did you make that decision?
Well, we took a minority investment from Omnicom, which is an advertising agency holding company. And the industry was growing faster than we could grow using our cash flow. We were doing fine, making money from day one and all that. But the industry's growing very fast, and we wanted to be able to keep up with the growth that the industry wanted us to grow at.
Do you think this means it's harder now for small companies to enter the game? I mean, have the stakes gone up?
I think the stakes have gone up, but it doesn't necessarily mean that a two-person startup in a garage can't create something more compelling than millions and millions of dollars behind a large corporate effort.
Okay, on that note, I think we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back in just a moment with David Sherbuck and Kyle Shannon, Omar Wasso, and myself. Stick with us. This is MSNBC.
It's easy to have a website that can be popular and successful without a lot of resources. But to build a successful business that's based on web publishing is now harder than ever and takes more and more resources than ever. There simply can't be a million successful businesses on the internet.
Welcome back to the Tangled Web. We're continuing our discussion about culture and culture clash on the web. I've got three guests with me: Omar Wasso, MSNBC contributor; David Sherbuck, editor of Forbes magazine website; and Kyle Shannon, president of Agency.com. Thanks for sticking around. David, why don't you tell us a bit about this fly fishing website? It's called Real Time.
Real Time, the Internet Journal of Saltwater Fly Fishing. It started appropriately enough over a sushi dinner in 1994. My partner, Thorne Sparkman, who was at Time Warner Pathfinder, and I wanted to put together a site to practice our HTML skills and to experiment with a few theories I had on publishing, what I call fetish publishing, in that you don't necessarily have to have a mass medium website to succeed, but if you appeal to a very narrow niche of very passionate people, you can create a big audience.
And this is what's so appealing about the internet and why so many people like this kind of hobbyist approach to the net, that it really lets people with all kinds of different niches and narrow interests get together.
Precisely, and in many cases, the narrower the better. We were very lucky that we picked a very good demographic, a very hot growing sport, and we were frankly astonished when we suddenly realized we had 20,000 very faithful, addicted users.
But are you hoping to make any money off this, or is this just a fun hobby?
Well, it started as a hobby. It started as a sandbox to learn about the web. It's now making money, but the most gratifying part is the feedback from the users. We make a big effort to meet our users in person. We do meetings, fishing conclaves that we call Geeks on the Beach, and it goes a long way to building a real relationship with them and a lot of loyalty to the site.
Now, Kyle had talked earlier about sites that are done by one or two people. What's your production staff like?
It's just my partner and I on evenings and weekends. I haven't seen a weekend for about 2 years now. It's a labor of love, but we've taken some seed financing and we'll be staffing up with a full staff over the course of this year.
Kyle, why would companies be interested in a website like David's? We're hearing that a lot of these entrepreneurs are now getting attention from big business.
I think one of the things that, one of the very interesting phenomena about the internet is that small, passionate efforts often lead to a significantly better product than maybe just trying to modify existing content. Large companies often understand a certain type of media and try to replicate that media in the internet. And I think these smaller efforts recognize the internet as a unique medium with its own attributes and tend to create more compelling content that way.
What kind of lessons do you think corporate America is learning from the net?
That they have to be very flexible. That there are no experts, and anyone that tells you they're an expert should be not trusted, should be shown the door. It's changing so fast, the industry's evolving so fast that I think flexibility is probably the single most important lesson that anyone can learn.
But I find that so many of these corporate websites are really just ads for their products. How do you go beyond that?
You go beyond that by breaking some of the rules. One of the things that we're working on at Agency.com is to try to break some of the language we use to describe the web. I think when we call something a page, you think of a static linear device, and so everyone's got all these web pages, and what you have is essentially brochures up on the web, because that's what they look like. We're moving to a model where we're shifting from a page model to an event model, where we take advantage of the participatory nature of the net and create events where people can truly participate and communicate.
Well, tell us about the swimsuit issue. I understand it was available on the internet before it was on the newsstand. That's a site that you helped develop.
This was actually our very first client when Chan and I started Agency.com.
As a two-person shop?
As a two-person shop. I think we were three at that point. Thank you. And we were handed a videotape at 4 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and they said, go build us a website.
But why did they want a website? Just because it's the thing to do?
Well, this was in early 1995, so it wasn't as much a thing to do then. And I think they wanted a website because we were excited about it, and I think they'd heard enough about it to say, this is another way to drive traffic to this very popular thing. And it proved very successful, and we crashed a lot of servers, and it was fun.
Do you think anything's been lost as there's a growing corporate presence on the net?
I actually think that to a large degree things have been gained. I think the amount of money that corporate America is investing in the infrastructure and the knowledge base on the internet is only helping. I mean, look at Silicon Alley. It's a lot of folks who were just doing it passionately now actually have jobs and are on television like yourself. I think that influx of support is really taking this industry, it's making the transition and being a real business, a true business.
David, quickly, do you think anything's being lost on the net as corporations join?
No, the users have the choice to avoid whatever they want to avoid. I mean,
but I mean the whole spirit of the net. Do you think anything's being lost?
Yes, it's getting a little more complex. The barriers to entry to come out with a fully functional site these days, it's expensive.
Okay. Thank you very much, David Sherbuck and Kyle Shannon. And we're going to take a quick break. Omar Wasso and I will be back with more on the Tangled Web series. Stick with us. Welcome back to MSNBC. We're talking about the Tangled Web, and I've got Omar Wasso, contributor to MSNBC, here with me. So let's wrap up some of that discussion. What do you make of the corporations coming to the web?
Well, I think Kyle said it best when he talked about how, I mean, what's really happened is that you've seen this transformation, and all these people who were hobbyists are now running companies, and it's really an amazing thing that's happened in an incredibly short period of time. And the net result for all the people who use the internet is that there's a lot more content, there's a lot more available, and I think it's becoming a richer environment for everyone.
So really you think that the onslaught of the corporations in some way improves the culture because there are more choices, more diversity?
And also that there's this lesson that big companies have to learn, which is you have to be more responsive to your consumers, you have to create relationships, you have to be more open and flexible, and I think that, it's good on both sides.
Okay, well, we're going to continue talking about this all day long, Omar and myself, and we want to get some feedback from the audience, and you can send us email at tangle@msnbc.com. We've also got a chat going on later today with Allison Grippo, producer of Net Clock. She'll be one of our guests later this afternoon. And Gordon Ross, creator of the Net Nanny, another guest we'll be talking to. So I hope everyone will come to those chats. Also tonight, there's a chat with Sherry Turkle, professor at MIT. And now, why don't we try to take a look here at what's on our website. You wrote an article, Omar.
Right. The article talks about some of the things we just went through earlier in this discussion about how the internet culture has really come of age.
And culture shock, right?
And culture shock also, and how there's, again, that big businesses are having to rethink how they do business.
One thing I found fun about what we've got on the site today is this look at who's on the net and how they're using it. Rodney Dangerfield, all kinds of different, Arlo Guthrie.
Well, and this is one of the other things, that it's sort of how internet culture has affected broader society, and that is that, all of a sudden sort of hierarchies or celebrities who were otherwise unapproachable are now an email address away.
Right, exactly. And even using the net, we talk about Bill Nye, the science guy, and how he uses the net for 3 hours a week, and he likes to surf for news and science sites. One thing I think is interesting whenever we have these profiles that show how people are using the internet is I think it helps inspire other people and who may not have taken the plunge yet, but it gives them an idea of what they can get if they log on.
And one of the things that David said that I think was really on point was that there is no sort of one internet. Everybody can pull a different thing from it. So what Bill Nye gets out of it and what you or I might get out of it are two different things. And just because corporations may be putting up advertisements or brochures doesn't mean that there isn't an enormous diversity of other stuff as well.
Right. And we'll continue talking about a lot of cultural issues and culture clashes, but also later on today we'll be talking about community building on the internet. So the next one we do is at 1:30 Eastern Time, and stick with us. John Siegenthaler will be back in just a moment with more news.
To order MSNBC's 2-hour Tangled Web educational video for $29.95 plus shipping and handling, call 1-800-314-8822.
All week long, we have been bringing you your series, Tangled Web, Who Controls the Internet? And we have examined several aspects of the net, including its infrastructure, policy, and culture. And your response has been great. And we'd like to remind you that MSNBC is being simulcast over our Tangled Web site at MSNBC.com. And in a few minutes, we're going to look at the future of the Internet. But right now, I'm going to pass the torch to our MSNBC Internet correspondent, Mary Kathleen Flynn. But before we move on to your series, I do want to point out what's on the computer today.
Let's take a quick look at this. This is the future of the Internet. Some people say that the Internet will eventually be interactive television. And today, indeed, we are webcasting on the web what we're doing here on television. Now, as you pointed out a few moments ago, there's quite a little delay
About a 7-second delay.
You counted it at about 7 seconds.
If you watch your TV and you watch the Internet broadcast, or whatever you will call it.
Webcast, we call it.
Thank you very much, webcast. It's going to be a delay, but it's very interesting.
Well, and it's fun for people who are at work who may not have televisions but can get on the Internet, so they can watch us.
It's not just pictures, too. It is sound as well.
Exactly.
What do you got for us today?
Well, we've been doing a lot of surveying, and we've got a couple of polls about what people think about the Internet, some from our audience and some from a more general survey. In a telephone survey by NBC News and the Wall Street Journal, 1,002 people were polled. 282 of them, that's more than a quarter, said that they regularly use the Internet. In spite of the recent problems logging onto the net, some 62% of Internet users said that they were satisfied, compared to 36% who are not. Half of those who use the Internet say they use it mostly for research and education. That's not too surprising. 21% use it mostly for email, followed by financial use and entertainment. Getting connected, of course, was the major gripe of those polled. 31% of net users thought that was the problem, compared to 25% who felt the net was too slow. Meanwhile, 48% of those polled said they were not on the net because they didn't have access to it, but 26% said that they were just not interested. 9% did not know how to use it. Finally, of those who do not use the Internet or online services, a full 38% said they think they will in the next year. And that survey's got a 6-point margin for error.
62% say they are satisfied.
I know, shocking.
Which we've heard, I mean, all we hear about is the complaints. That's a pretty high number, I would think.
One thing that we found with the feedback that we've been getting all week long is that people really do find the Internet fun, and people who are on it think it's worth the wait and worth the struggles. I'm continually amazed at the patience that people show for the technology, but I think a lot of people are hooked now.
Now, I'm talking about my own personal connection to the web, not my connection here at work. It seems to be getting faster. Just personally, it seems that I'm not having to wait as long. Of course, it depends on which service you're on, but through the regular telephone line, things seem to be working better than they were maybe 6 to 8 months, a year ago.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, although they could get worse again shortly. I mean, I think what we're seeing are a lot of growing pains, and so there will be little hiccups all along the way.
All right. Mary Kathleen Flynn's going to continue with the Tangled Web in just a moment. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to MSNBC and our Tangled Web series. One interesting thing about this age of technology is that kids in general know more about computers and the Internet than their parents. I grew up on TV, but now there's a generation that has grown up on computers. What does the future hold for the Internet? Some answers lie with the next generation, where the Internet will be an important communication medium. We're joined now in the studio by some of the Sachem Web Slingers, students from Sachem High School's Computer Club on Long Island, New York. They put up their own website. We've got Michael Ferraro, Juliet Barada, Jonathan Q, and Vinny Passeri. Hi guys, thanks for coming.
Hey Mary.
Thanks for having us. Vinny, why don't we start with you, because I know you're one of the people who began this Web Slingers Computer Club at Sachem. How did you guys get started?
Well, it all started in August of '95. I was working at a small computer company. My boss, Peter Keenan, had an interview with the Board of Education, and he convinced them to have an internet website.
What was the goal? What were you hoping to do with it?
Well, one of the goals of the website was we wanted to become interactive with the students and the teachers. We wanted something where the students can use years to come, to use inside of the curriculum. So it'll be used as part of the everyday learning process.
And Michael, I understand you're one of the beginners of the club too, and I understand that the menu for the cafeteria is online. What other kinds of things do you put up on the site?
We offer department offerings for various subjects. We have links to other educational resources, search engines on the web. We have internal things like our Sachem Navigator, which is finding things on our website. We have alumni directories for the alumni visiting our website. We have the OWL online writing lab. This way the people can write things and have AP English students check over their work using the internet. We have many other programs to help students.
And Jonathan, how about some more fun stuff? What do you guys do that's fun?
We've got a lot of the club pages up there that are basically the pages that describe the different varsity sports teams, extracurricular clubs, activities. We're expanding the music section of the site for all the musicians who are in Sachem. So there's a lot of different activities that we've put up.
Now, you three guys are all seniors, but Juliet, you're a junior, is that right? So you're a little newer to the club.
Yes, I am.
And what have you been learning about so far?
What they do in the beginning of the club, what we start in the beginning of the year, they teach us how to use Photoshop, they teach us how to use Microsoft Front Page, and then once they train us using those things, we have a project and we have to make our own web pages, and that's how we have so many.
Have you made yours yet?
Yeah, Vinny helped me on the cheerleading webpage.
On the cheerleading webpage, okay, good. And tell us about how many girls versus boys are in the club?
Out of about 35 club members, there are about 6 girls.
So you were saying before, about 20% girls. Has that always been true, Vinny, from the beginning? Or is it growing, the number?
Well,
of girls?
it still grows. I mean, we've had a lot of girls in the club. A lot of girls really don't have an interest in it, but the ones that really want to know how to use a computer and use the internet, you know, they stay with the club.
Juliet, do you think that's true, that a lot of the other girls in high school aren't as interested?
I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, it all depends on what you're into.
Because certainly on the internet, we've seen the percentage of women using it growing a lot over the last few years. So I'm just wondering about the next generation. Is there some resistance that girls have to the internet?
I don't think so. I think girls use it just as much as guys, but I think a lot of people are kind of just warming up to the whole web slingers. It's only been around for a couple years, so.
It's a new club.
In fact, we've had quite a few more girls join this year too. It's our goal to try to expand the number of girls in the club, and a lot of them have actually expressed interest in it. They've actually come to some of us and asked us when are the meetings and stuff, when can they go. So it's a lot more enthusiasm.
Are there things that you put up on the website particularly that you think might get girls more interested, you know, like the cheerleading site?
Well, we got the sport teams. The sports are very, you know, gets a lot of people interested in, you know, because one of the major things that we want to do is we'll scan in each of the individual pictures and have links with all their with the stats that they have with the team. And they're getting into it. And we're going to have a video capture card. We'll be able to capture all the live action video.
Oh, cool, like what we're doing today with Real Video on MSNBC.com. Well, stick around, you guys. We're going to come back in just a moment, and we'll continue talking to the Sachem Web Slingers on our Tangled Web series. Welcome back to MSNBC in our Tangled Web series. I've got members of the Sachem High School Web Slingers Club, Vinny Passeri, Juliet Barada, Jonathan Q, and Michael Ferraro. Okay, good. Vinny, why don't we start talking about some of the special projects that are on your website and how you think it's special?
Well, one of the main keys to our website is the interactivity. So what we've developed in the beginning of last year was a project called the Homework Network, which enables the teachers to post up their homework through a form, and students will be able to retrieve it through a search engine. So there's no more excuses that I'm homesick and I don't have the homework, and you'll be able to retrieve your homework.
What about helping other students with homework? Is that some of what you do through the internet or not?
Well, we're still getting into it. I mean, we're still having a lot of problems with it. I mean, we're trying to think of some other projects to come up with, but we're trying to get the internet as part of the curriculum in the classroom.
Okay. Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the educational uses of the web slingers?
Well, trying to acclimate the staff of the district to using the internet, allowing classes to use what we've posted for them, allow them to explore the internet, because there are many resources out there, especially a lot of the college websites that offer literary works on the web, criticisms, many other things over the web, very useful to many subjects, foreign language classes, English classes, science classes. You can do remote lab experiments over the web. There's certain materials you don't have and somebody might have it elsewhere in the world and they publish it on the web, and do a lot of shared learning over the internet, which is what we're going to see in the future.
Not only are we trying to acclimate the staff members and stuff, but also a lot of the younger children. When we're in the elementary schools and stuff, you can see lots of posters of diagrams of computers. We're beginning education in the computers and the internet a lot earlier also.
Are you guys looking at some of this as future careers, or is this really more just fun?
Well, I think because it's going to be such a big part of the future, definitely. It's something everyone should really start getting into, especially at a young age. It's the best time to get into it.
Are any of you thinking about going into anything having to do with the computers or internet as a career?
As a hobby. And
possibly. No, you
Michael,
can never
you think
tell.
about it
So many possibilities at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to get into it, so we'll see what happens with it.
Okay, and give us more of a feel of what do you think lies ahead? What's the future of the internet?
I think education is going to be a major part in the internet, and students will be able to do research from it. I mean, we're already starting with students using the internet for research capabilities, but one of the problems is the copyright problems that they're having on the internet.
Those are difficult.
Right.
Juliet, what do you see in the future? How do you think you'll be using the internet 5 years from now?
Oh, gee, I mean, everywhere it's going to be. I think definitely email will replace regular mail. No matter what job you're going to end up doing, there's going to be some kind of use for the computer there, especially to get online, to talk to other people, whereas if you were on the phone or if you had to talk to them in person, it wouldn't be as easy, but you could just go on the computer.
Jonathan, we were talking a little bit earlier about the difference between letter writing and email writing. Like you, I do both.
Right.
So what's the difference? Why do you decide to sit down to write a letter versus an email message?
Well, for me anyway, personally, when I write a letter, I feel that it's a bit better summary, a way to summarize things that have been happening, express my feelings and such on a longer format, sort of. So when I send it, it's more personal. Whereas when I send short email messages, it's sort of like a conversation that's going back and forth in a couple of hours' time.
So it's a quicker, more casual
right.
exchange.
And it's very easy to use too. So
It's not to say you can't do formal things over the web too. You can have businesses emailing each other back and forth with important information, and since it is so fast compared to United States Postal Service, is very useful to businesses as well as education in many aspects.
One of the things they have to take care of is the ease of use on the internet. They have to make it easier to use for the younger kids and get them involved with it.
Younger kids and adults, I completely agree with you there. What about comparing the internet to television? Do you guys see them as similar, different? What?
They're both unique, different things. I mean, to say that the internet may someday surpass television in terms of usage may be true, but insofar as the purpose, I mean, in my eyes, they're kind of unique to each other. Television is primarily entertainment, whereas the web can be used for entertainment, research, communications, advertisements. The uses are different, I think.
Juliet, when you sit down to think about going on the net or going on television, what makes the difference between the decision?
I sometimes find that the net is more interesting. It's more interactive, whereas TV you can sit there and watch, but the internet you can go on, and there's more things for you to get out of it.
Definitely.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. Vinny, Juliet, Jonathan, and Michael. And they're from the Sachem Web Slingers. We'll be back in just a moment with more on the Tangled Web. Stick with us.
MK is getting ready to wrap up this half hour on the Tangled Web. We got more to come, but I want to talk about those kids for just a second. First of all, incredible group. And second of all, one of the interesting things I heard about the comparison between television and the internet was how interactive the internet actually is. And that word's overused, but essentially it means you got to participate, you know?
Right. A lot of the younger people that I've talked to tell me that the reason that they like the internet is because they get to decide when and where and what the content's going to be, as opposed to television, which they feel like they have to sit back and we get to decide what the topic's going to be. So that's one element of the interactivity that they appreciate.
There were a lot of things when we were younger that I guess led to successful careers in whatever area it was, but it seems now without some sort of base in the computer, it's very hard to go anywhere.
Hopeless, I would imagine, yeah. I've talked to a lot of companies who say that one of the things that they like about having kids having experience with computers and on the internet is the sense of collaboration, and that in whatever field you're whatever field you're going into, that this idea of working with a group and collaborating that computers can help with really gives you a heads up.
So like a study group. kind of.
Right.
What we used to know as study groups.
Although now these study groups transcend all kinds of geographical barriers, that people are communicating with people all over the world using the internet, and that's one of the educational purposes of it as well.
All right, and you've got a lot coming up tomorrow as well, and some more throughout the day.
Throughout the day, one thing I want to point out is that we're chatting on the internet at MSNBC.com. We've got a chat starting at noon Eastern time, and I'll be poking in and out of there all day long, and want to hear what people think about the Tangled Web. Also, we'll be coming back at 1:30 Eastern time with the next installment.
And tomorrow?
Tomorrow there will be things running, and also tonight on the News with Brian Williams will be more of the Tangled Web series.
All right.
And check out our real video where we're webcasting all day long today on,
it's that
on the
little box
computer.
right there.
Right, there you
Can't
go.
see it very well right here.
A little bit of a
there
delay,
it
but
is.
it's fun nevertheless.
It is, and it'll be on all day
long
on MSNBC.com. MK Flynn, thank you very much.
Thanks, Don.
We'll be back with more on MSNBC after this.
To order MSNBC's 2-hour Tangled Web educational video for $29.95 plus shipping and handling, call 1-800-314-8822.